In Hollywood, where relationships often have a shorter shelf life than a movie ticket, the 27-year marriage of James Brolin and Barbra Streisand feels like a landmark. They are a true power couple, a mix of rugged charm and legendary talent, who've navigated the wild ride of fame with a grace most can only dream of. But now, the internet is churning with heartbreaking news, with whispers that have sent shockwaves through their fanbase. The headlines are grim and alarming, painting a picture of a tragic diagnosis and an emotional goodbye. The story goes that the man who once lovingly wrote down every single day he spent with Barbra is now writing the hardest entries of his life. After more than a quarter century of what looked like an unbreakable bond, the viral narrative is one of crisis, a partnership facing its biggest and maybe final challenge. What could possibly be going on behind the closed doors of their Malibu home to spark such devastating rumors? Whispers of a tragic diagnosis and a tearful goodbye have fans deeply worried that one of Hollywood's most adored couples is at a breaking point. The rumors have gotten so intense that some reports even claim James Brolin turned down a multi-million-dollar acting role. Shocking move for a man who's been a fixture on our screens for decades. The stories paint a picture of him stepping back, not for a new project, but simply to stay home and be a pillar of support in the face of a shattering health crisis. So what's the real story behind these terrifying headlines? In a world of clickbait and twisted celebrity narratives, separating fact from fiction is more important than ever. We're going to investigate the shocking claims, look back at their incredible love story, and uncover the truth about what's really happening with James Brolin and Barbra Streisand. And the story we found is not what the tabloids are selling. To really get the weight of these rumors, you have to understand the foundation James Brolin and Barbra Streisand built their life on. Theirs wasn't a story of high school sweethearts or a co-star fling. It started when they were both in their 50s. Two veterans of life and love who had, by their own admission, pretty much given up on finding a soulmate. James Brolin, born in L.A. back in 1940, was the son of a contractor. His early life was structured, but he had a wild streak. He was drawn to nature and adventure, passions that would later define his on-screen persona. Before Hollywood found him, he was just a kid, tinkering with cars and surfing California waves, dreaming of a bigger life. He hit it big in the 70s as the star of the medical drama Marcus Welby, M.D., becoming a kind of masculine ideal, handsome, steady, and dependable. This led to more successful roles, like the lead in the iconic 80s series Hotel. By the 90s, Brolin had been through 2 marriages and raised 3 kids, including his now famous son Josh. He'd seen the highs and lows of life in the public eye and was at a point where he thought, who needs marriage again? Meanwhile, Barbra Streisand's journey was a world away, but just as incredible. Born in Brooklyn in 1942, her early life was shaped by loss and a fiery ambition. Her father, a respected teacher, died suddenly when she was just 15 months old. For years, she was told he died from overwork. But the truth was a tragic medical error, botched injection for a seizure. This loss left a hole that would drive her for the rest of her life. She had no memory of her father, just his books and a note he'd written in her baby book. I have a feeling this one is going to be special. Her childhood was tough. Her grieving mother remarried a man who was cold and critical, once telling a young Barbra he'd break her spirit. From this struggle emerged an artist with singular talent. She was the girl with the voice, a voice that took her from Brooklyn to the world's biggest stages. She conquered Broadway, then Hollywood, becoming one of the rare EGOT winners. She directed films like Yentl and The Prince of Tides, smashing barriers for women in a man's world. Like Brolin, she'd been married before, to actor Elliot Gould, and had a son, Jason. But by 1996, she'd been single for years, a global icon feeling profoundly alone. Then, on July 1, 1996, their 2 worlds collided. A mutual friend set them up on a blind date. Both were so hesitant they almost canceled. Brolin was so nervous about meeting a legend, he took a Valium. He expected the rugged, bearded guy from Hotel to show up, but he'd just shaved his head. For a role, Streisand, never one to hold back, walked up, put her hand on his hair, and said, "Who F. ed up your hair?" For James Brolin, that was it. He later recalled, "That's when I fell in love. I thought, this girl tells the truth right from the beginning. I'm crazy about her." They talked for hours that night, finding a connection that went way beyond their public images. He was captivated by her mind and wit. She was intrigued by his quiet strength and honesty. They found a partner who wasn't starstruck but genuinely interested in the person behind the fame. 2 years to the day after that first date, on July 1, 1998, they were married. It was the start of a partnership that would become one of Hollywood's most admired, built not on red carpet glamour, but on quiet moments and deep, mutual respect. You can't really get how strong their bond is without looking at the storms they've weathered. Their life together hasn't been a perfect fairy tale. It's been a masterclass in supporting each other through thick and thin. Long before these health rumors started, they'd already proven they could face anything together. Barbra entire career has been about overcoming obstacles. One of her biggest was a lifelong battle with crippling stage fright. This wasn't just a case of the jitters. It was a paralyzing fear that kept her from performing live concerts for 27 years. It started at a 1967 concert in Central Park when she forgot the lyrics to a song. For an artist whose voice was everything, that moment was traumatic. For nearly 3 decades, one of the world's greatest performers refused to tour. James Brolin was key to her comeback. He gave her the unwavering support she needed to face that fear, and his calm presence helped her finally return to the stage in 1994 for a triumphant, record-breaking tour. Professionally, she fought huge battles as a female director. When she set out to direct Yentl in 1983, she was met with doubt and resistance. Hollywood wasn't used to actresses taking charge of major films. She had to fight for funding, for creative control, and for basic respect. Throughout these fights, Brolin was her biggest fan. He championed her work and admired her tenacity, providing the emotional support she needed to deal with the industry's often hostile attitude. James Brolin navigated his own share of challenges. Before Barbra, he'd gone through 2 divorces, the second of which left him deep in debt. He's talked openly about the financial and emotional toll. He was a single dad juggling a demanding career with raising his kids. In Streisand, he found a partner who understood the pressures of their profession. She, in turn, loved his work ethic and down-to-earth nature. They bonded over the fickle nature of fame. "Jim and I are very different," she once wrote, as he's said to me, "You're an expert at looking for what's wrong, while I'm just happy to wake up in the morning." But instead of creating friction, they made it a strength. His easygoing vibe balanced her famous perfectionism. Maybe their greatest test came during the COVID-19 pandemic. While lockdowns strained many relationships, it brought James and Barbra closer. They fell in love all over again, spending 425 straight nights together and finding joy in the simple, shared routine. Brolin said the time only deepened their bond. It was a powerful reminder that their relationship wasn't about public appearances, but about the quiet act of just being there for each other, day in and day out. This history shows a couple whose bond has been forged in fire, a partnership defined by the strength with which they face challenges together. So, let's get to the heart of it, the tragic diagnosis that's all over the internet. The stories are dramatic, talking about a devastating health battle and a diagnosis that has changed everything. They claim that out of love and concern, James Brolin is saying goodbye to his career, to be by his wife's side. It's an emotional narrative and deeply worrying for their fans. But is any of it true? After looking into it, the reality is far less scandalous and way more inspiring than the rumors suggest. There is no credible evidence from any reputable source and no official statement to back up the claim that Barbra Streisand has a new, tragic health diagnosis. The videos and blog posts fueling these rumors are pure speculation, built on a dramatic misunderstanding of the facts. So where did this story come from? Not from a private medical tragedy, but from a public health crusade, a passionate, decades-long fight Barbra Streisand has been waging for all women. The tragic diagnosis isn't hers. It's the diagnosis millions of women in America face every year: heart disease. The shocking truth, a fact Streisand has dedicated herself to publicizing, is that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of women in the U.S., claiming more lives than all cancers combined. 1 in 3 women will die from heart disease or stroke. A woman's life is lost to this disease nearly every 80 seconds. That is the real heartbreaking truth that has so deeply affected the couple. Streisand's advocacy started years ago, sparked by a phenomenon named after her own work. In 1991, Dr. Bernadine Healy, then director of the National Institutes of Health, coined the term the Yentl syndrome. In Streisand's film Yentl, her character has disease were being treated less aggressively than men because the medical world saw it as a man's disease. When Streisand learned this, she was horrified. She discovered a massive gender gap in heart health. Women's heart attack symptoms are often different from men's, not the classic chest clutching, but shortness of breath, nausea, fatigue, and back or jaw pain. Because of this, women are often misdiagnosed, their symptoms dismissed as anxiety or indigestion. On top of that, women have been historically left out of heart research. This realization lit a fire in her. In 2012, she helped found the Barbra Streisand Women's Heart Center at Cedars-Sinai. In 2014, she co-founded the Women's Heart Alliance, a nonprofit dedicated to ending this gender gap. Her mission is to raise awareness, push for more research, and make women everywhere understand that heart disease is their biggest health threat. This brings us to the second part of the rumor, that James Brolin is saying goodbye. The clickbait story is that he's preparing for the worst, stepping away from his career to spend every last moment with his wife. But that completely misrepresents the situation. The goodbye is real, but it's not a goodbye to his wife. It's a goodbye to the status quo. It's a deliberate shift in priorities, a powerful show of support not for a dying wife, but for his wife's life's work. The rumor mill claims Brolin turned down an acting role worth a reported $2 million, telling producers, "I can't commit, right?" Now, this is the factual nugget that's been spun into a tale of doom. But when you put it in the right context, Streisand's all-consuming public health fight Brolin's decision means something totally different. He isn't stepping back because Barbra is sick. He's stepping back to support her in her mission. Their mission, his choice, isn't about sorrow, it's about solidarity. Trying to change the medical establishment and shift public consciousness is a monumental task. It takes time, energy, and focus. Brolin's decision to be more present at home is a powerful act of partnership. It's his way of making sure she has the support she needs to continue this vital work. This isn't a man retreating in fear. It's a man stepping up in support. His recent interviews back this up. He talks about their life with warmth and humor. He told the Today Show their best investment has been their mattress, explaining with a laugh, "We're both lazy. We love to sleep late. We do a lot of our work on the phone, on paper, reading, right next to each other." Those aren't the words of a man facing a tragedy. They're the words of a man who is happy, in love, and enjoying the quiet intimacy of a long-term partnership. And Brolin is anything but retired. He just celebrated his 85th birthday, is still taking on projects like a recent Netflix series, and talks passionately about his intense workout routines. This is a man looking to the future with energy, not shutting down his life for a loss. The goodbye, then, is a metaphor. It's a goodbye to a time when their careers were on separate tracks and a hello to a new chapter, where their focus is unified on a purpose bigger than any movie role. Sometimes, the greatest act of love is stepping back from your own ambitions to lift up the passionate work of the person you love. Brolin isn't saying goodbye to Barbra. He's saying yes to their shared legacy. The real story of James Brolin and Barbra Streisand is a powerful reminder that the truth is often more inspiring than fiction. Their commitment to each other and to women's health is a story that deserves to be told correctly. If you were moved by their real story, please consider sharing this to help spread the truth and combat misinformation. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell for more true stories behind the headlines. The viral story of James Brolin saying goodbye to his wife crumbles when you look at the truth. The narrative of impending tragedy, of a fairy tale ending in sorrow, is pure fiction. The truth is far more powerful. This isn't a story about dying. It's a story about fighting. This isn't a marriage in crisis. It's a marriage that, after 27 years, has entered its most meaningful phase. It's about two people using their incredible fame for a cause greater than themselves. Barbra Streisand, the trailblazing artist who fought for her place in a man's world, is now fighting for the lives of all women overlooked by that same world. And James Brolin, the steadfast partner who fell in love with her honesty, is standing right there with her. His love, an active, supportive force. His choice to prioritize her work over a role is the ultimate rebuttal to the tabloid trash. It's a quiet, profound declaration of love and respect. In an industry known for ego and fleeting connections, their bond is a stunning example of what it means to be a true team. Their love story isn't defined by red carpets, but by reading side by side, by supporting each other's passions, and by uniting against a common enemy, in this case, the devastating epidemic of women's heart disease. So, is James Brolin saying goodbye? Yes, he's saying goodbye to complacency. He's saying goodbye to the idea that their lives run on separate tracks. He's co-authoring their most important chapter yet, one that could help save millions of lives. And that is a love story far greater than any Hollywood script could ever imagine.